You all set?
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to our presentation on the application that we've been developing throughout our time here in Japan. My name is Will.
I'm Cole.
And I'm Joe.
And we're going to show you what we've been making today.
So our team actually did a sponsored project. We worked with a company called Kyoto VR, and we worked very closely with their founder and CEO, Atticus Sims, pictured here. And they're a company that does a lot of virtual reality and augmented reality stuff to show off the sort of the history and culture around Kyoto. So our project focused mainly on Kinkakuji, or the Temple of the Golden Pavilion, which is a very popular tourist site in Kyoto that has a lot of important history, and as you can see, really beautiful gardens and buildings and stuff like that. So thousands of tourists come there every day, but it's really not very accessible if you don't speak Japanese, because what few signs there are only in Japanese. So you miss out on a lot of the history and cultural information about the site if you can't read them. So that's where our app comes in.
So our app, inGuides Kyoto, offers a lot of great additional functionality to improve the experience of visiting Kinkakuji if you don't speak Japanese. So we offer a GPS-triggered audio tour so that as you progress through the site, it'll trigger different audio files that will explain what you're looking at around you and the cultural significance of it. We have image galleries associated with each region where there's art depicting the scene around you, as well as showing things that are talked about in the audio tour, as well as a few extra augmented reality enhancements to make things a little more interesting.
So, and we didn't put together a trailer, but our friends at WPI did.
Another group of WPI students is here working on the project, also for Kyoto VR, and they created this trailer for us.
30-second trailer that takes you through the main features, so enjoy.
Welcome to inGuides Kyoto, a unique and easy way to discover the beauty of Japan's old capital for travelers on a budget. Our hands-free audio tours are narrated by real expert guides who give you deep insights to the city's rich history and culture. With our AR camera, you can instantly see sign translations, visual aids to maps and images, and you can even take digital souvenirs with you to show your friends back home. Learn more about inGuides at inguides.co.
And Will's going to take you through some of the extra details that weren't quite in the trailer.
Demonstration video showing the app in a little bit more depth than the trailer. So this is the title screen that you get when you first launch the app. It's very simple. Tells you to tap to start. Click on that. And then it's going to bring you to the first region of the tour when you first get there. This drop-down menu shows all the different regions that can be entered throughout the tour, as well as a map showing a route through the site that you can zoom in and out on and scroll around to look at different areas. You have a main menu button to bring you back to the zone page that you're on with the image galleries you mentioned, as well as a transcript for the audio file that's playing for that region, and then a slider bar so you can fast forward and rewind through the audio. In addition, there's a pocket mode feature that allows you to listen to the audio in your pocket without needing to worry about triggering any of the UI elements. And then lastly, there's the AR mode, which was shown in the trailer. So now just to talk about some of the technologies that went into developing inGuides. We chose to create the app primarily using Unity. The main reason for that was because there's access to Vuforia, which is an augmented reality development environment that allows you to easily target the AR features for Apple or Android, depending on which platform you're building the app to, and offers a lot of great features that we were able to implement in various ways throughout the app, primarily the image target recognition, as well as ground plane recognition and mid-air recognition for augmented reality in early phases of the project.
So another application we created, so as you know, at the core level, the app is an audio tour. So you walk around, and with the GPS, it will trigger audio when you walk into different areas of interest. It will also change the image gallery that you have access to. So in order to design these tours, to specify where you should walk into, what kind of media will present itself when you do, we had to create an additional app, which we call Editour. It'll just demo really quickly. For example, this is the area that we designed a tour for, running in our web-based editor. So for example, you can click on this, and it will reveal all the points And if the needs of the tour change, you can easily augment this to suit your needs. Furthermore, in this media tab, you can change the audio file that's in there, the audio file that starts playing when you walk into this area, and change the images that are available to you when you do. So it will change the image gallery that you can swipe through. Additionally, it has a text box in order to place a transcript on there. So this is just a tool basically for internal use, so we could continue to iterate on the tour as we develop. We'll also use this to create some test tours. So that's it. What we use for this, it's all with pretty basic web technology. So we styled it with CSS, made the page HTML. It's a lot of JavaScript in there. And we also use this additional library called Leaflet for the interactive map. And for the back end, we use Node.js, which Joe did a lot of.
Yeah, so Node is basically a way to run JavaScript outside of a browser. And so you can use it for the server-side code that accepts incoming API requests and responds to them. And it's a nice way to let us use the same language for the full stack of web development.
Yeah.
It's JavaScript.
Thank you. So this is the design that was presented to us partway through the project. So what you're looking at here is just a prototype. This is not the app, but when you see screenshots of the app, you'll notice it looks very similar. So this is what was given to us by Kyoto VR to turn into a working app in Unity. And this introduced a lot of features to us, like the chapter select menu, the sign translations with the augmented reality buttons. So this is what we had to work with in order to create our deliverable for Kyoto VR.
So then shown here is a side-by-side comparison of what the app looked like prior to receiving that design document versus then what the final version was, using some placeholder imagery there. Our original version of the app was much more streamlined, I guess you would say. It had a lot fewer features than the final version. It focused primarily on the augmented reality features that we wanted to include, which involved image target recognition, drop down on the left, and then drop the menu on the right showing art that you would be able to display using ground plane recognition. So you could point it at a flat surface and it would create an object in augmented reality with the painting on it or image that was associated with that region. And then this gray space with the camera slash through it would have been where the camera feed was, meaning that it was taking up the majority of the screen, with the audio feed slider on the bottom. So now we want to talk a little bit about the testing we did in the creation of this app. A lot of our testing had to be done on campus here at Ritsumeikan University, primarily due to complications with repeatedly going back and forth to Kinkakuji to test on site. So a lot of the daily testing of the Editour app and designing tours and making sure that all the different content triggered correctly was done on campus. We were able to do a few rounds of testing at Kinkakuji itself, where we were able to make sure that the regions were the correct sizes and were triggering at the right times and making sure that the AR sign translation was recognizing the signs correctly. And lastly, we did a bit of testing with another group of WPI students who are here working on a project, and we were able to get some great feedback from them on ways to improve the app.
They were the ones in the video.
Yeah.
They put that together.
Well, then the difficulties.
Oh, yep.
The major difficulties we ran into with testing, though, one of the biggest was out-of-date hardware. So a lot of the features, and as well as AR features that we needed to test, it couldn't work very well for the phones in our group. Only one person in our group, being Cole, had a phone that was new enough to run AR at a satisfying level. So it was pretty difficult to test some of these features. And then additionally, the distance and cost to repeatedly go to Kinkakuji was definitely a problem as well, preventing us from testing on site.
So this sort of brings us to the postmortem. We already talked about testing difficulties a little bit, but another big difficulty was, as with any software development project, there's scope creep and functionality. Things kept getting added that cause problems. So near the end of the project, we were able to narrow it down pretty well. So that's something that was a challenge, but we were able to deal with. Another thing is because the goalposts kept shifting for us a couple times, there's some features we put in quite a bit of effort into that didn't make it into the final version of the app because the design of it essentially changed. And lacking specification, We got the experience design file sort of late. It was an incredibly helpful file because it guided the design of the app, but it would have been nice to have that earlier, for sure.
On a more positive note, we would like to talk about what went well with the app's creation as well. So the final products we created, inGuides and Editour, both turned out really well. They offer really easy-to-use experiences that really enhance the experience of visiting Kinkakuji. I'm really proud of how they turned out. Additionally, in the early portions of the project, we had to do a lot of research and learning on different AR development platforms and other important skills for developing in Unity that would help us get the project done, and we think we did a good job of learning that in a quick way that helped us create the final creations we made. Division of labor, as with any software development team, we had a lot of different specialties, things that we were better at and maybe not quite as good at compared to each other, so we did a good job of having people focus on tasks that they were able to accomplish quickly and efficiently. And lastly, going above and beyond in the creation of the Editour, which was an external web app that wasn't asked of us to be created, but we realized would be really helpful in the creation and maintenance of tours, and something that we chose to create on our own.
So although we're really happy with the state of the app that we created, there is still some more work that could be done by another group in the future. So first, because we were still implementing new features right down to the deadline, we didn't have as much time to do polish and testing. So Editour and inGuides could both use some more of that. We also intended from the start to add a feature where inGuides could automatically download a tour from the Editour server and unpack it, and that way you could have multiple tours running from the same app. You could also update tours if there was a newer version on the server. So we designed all our code around this so it's modular and extensible to support this feature. We just didn't have time to implement it because our sponsor wanted us to focus on improving the one tour that we had at Kinkakuji. And then finally, the Editour is currently running on a pretty low-powered server provided by Kyoto VR, so that could be moved to a more permanent hosting solution in the future.
So for just some final words, I just want to wrap up saying thanks again for coming to our presentation. We're really proud of the work that we did on our assignment here in Japan. I want to give a huge thanks to our professors here at Ritsumeikan University for providing a work environment for us and the materials we needed to get the job done. And a huge thanks as well to our professors at WPI for offering their guidance in the assignment. And lastly, a huge thanks to Atticus Sims at Kyoto VR for directing the project, and we wish him the best of luck in further development of the application in the future.
No questions? All right, you want to visit our websites?
Okay, any question, comments? And then request for additional function.
Oh, yeah,
That's for additional
that's
Yeah, we'll be able to fulfill them.
I have two questions.
yes.
One is, what do you mean by being sponsored by that company?
It's a pretty loose term in this scenario. It's more just that his company reached out to WPI and requested that students help him work on this application.
Did you get money from them? No.
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 No. I think we got like a couple of milkshakes, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
But,
Thank you. Okay. Let's go to the other question I have is about fun elements behind your app. So have you guys introduced any mechanism to make sure that the players or the user of your app will complete the tour? Because according to my experience taking my relatives or friends to Kinkakuji,
Yeah.
so after they take photos, selfies with the golden pavilion, they tend to go back
Yeah.
without wanting to continue to go to see the gardens and so on. So
Yeah,
do you have
so
any mechanism to make sure that?
Not currently. We would think.
one of the apps that we sort of based this on, it's called Easy Travel. It's a sort of a similar thing where you can design audio tours at particular regions, and it has this sort of gamification feature where you get points for completing each region. So we sort of looked into that. We didn't have time to implement anything like that because our sponsor wasn't really focused on that angle of it, but it could be something to consider in the future.
We did a couple test runs because we do want everybody to hit every region in the tour. So we ran through it a couple times trying to skip some, but it's linear enough that like it will tell you when you enter each one, and by walking the main path you do trigger all the audio, Because we had to adjust that, so we realized some were off to the side, and the audio tour didn't direct the person to say, oh, before you continue along, go to your right.
It
So
kind of tells you where you
tiny
need to
things
go.
like that were easy to add in. But yeah, that's a very good point. Any more questions?
Hi, any other question from students? Mr. Ito? Let's go.
I think the accuracy of the location
Yeah.
is very important, but how do you locate the user's position?
So Unity had an API already, which what we do is every 1 second that we ask the GPS API to get us a new location, and it just spits out a latitude and longitude. And then sort of by hand, we found an algorithm to see if a point is inside a 2D arbitrary polygon. And basically, I think we looked it up, it's about 10 meters. So on the map, like we had a version where all of these were much smaller. Like this looked closer to something like some tiny square. But before we got out there, we made them a lot bigger because, as you said, we were worried like,
So the area is around 10 meters.
yeah, that's based on one source. It's like the margin of error is around 10 meters. So we made a lot of these bigger than they had to be, which caused problems because then they would start triggering too early. So then we had to sort of shift everything.
Through testing it, we've refined this a few times as we've tested it. And the last time we went through with this tour, every region triggered at about the correct time.
Yeah.
So it'll vary slightly between different phones just because GPS is not perfect. But they're all close enough that you can still see what's being talked about when it triggers.
Mr. Ito? Okay, next on me. And I'd like to ask you, is it possible to use a social network to update the database?
Oh.
If your database editing system is very wonderful,
Yeah.
but if you prepare all information in the Kyoto State code, I think you need to spend all your life to prepare all the data.
Yeah.
Then, I want to provide my information
Yes.
to good friends around me. And it's possible to share over internet to.
I'm very, very glad you said that because that's something we want to. It's sort of outside the scope of the MQP, but we want to potentially provide a website that any user can contribute a tour, get uploaded to one of our servers, and then an app that will allow users to browse and see different tours. So, like, right now, the back end is written just to sort of serve our purposes. We can upload tours to our server and download them. But there's no users or anything at this point, but this is something we've been thinking about a lot, yeah. You have anything to add, Joe?
I think you covered it.
Yeah.
Take a role.
Yeah.
I think in collaboration with an Instagram or
Yeah.
everyone want to introduce the best viewpoint like experience.
Yes.
And this is a nice motivation for use this service together with this
Yeah.
database.
People love taking pictures
Yes.
of it.
Yeah.
People want to announce their
Yeah.
own experience.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing just 5 pictures, we can see top 5 most popular pictures that can copy and that can change. So many cool stuff, I think. that we could do. Okay. No, yes.
What is difference between this work and previous each work?
Previous what work?
Previous your work.
Oh.
So how is this different from our
Yeah.
previous work?
Yeah.
Well,
None of us have made an app.
Yeah, none of us have made apps before. None of us had worked with Unity before. None of us had worked with AR before. So it's pretty different for most of us. Kola and I had some experience doing web stuff, so like designing the editor was a little easier for us, but it was definitely a lot of new things that we had to learn.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't have gotten done if we hadn't known a little bit about it before.
Yeah.
So,
And then as a game development major, I have some experience working with game engines in the past, but I haven't worked with Unity in particular. But I definitely think it came a bit more naturally to me.
picked up the AR stuff. fast.
Yeah, like I was able to pick up like the AR technology really quickly and like the development of the UI pretty quickly.
Yeah. Good question.
Nice question. Thank you.
はい。
Uh,